Peace, guys. It's me, Arlene J. Ramsey, CEO and founder of Everyone Let's Talk, also your favorite self wealth mentor. Before I begin, let me say that I don't have all my equipment plugged up together, so my volume is very low. Please do me and yourself a favor to putting your volume to the max or doing what you have to do so you are able to hear what I have to say clearly because the volume will be low. Okay? We're gonna have an interesting discussion today. Before I get started, I just released my book, The Eclipse of School Torment: A Guide to End School Bullying. Okay, this was just released last week. Go ahead and pick your copy up. This is a very important topic. We will definitely talk about this topic later on in the month. Okay, but it's something that's near and dear to my heart, and I'm not sure if you guys are really paying attention, but children, suicide or what we call it, bully side, the numbers are growing. Children are killing themselves more and more often as a result of not being able to take school bullying anymore. And we're getting to the point where we're losing our youth before they get to realize who they are or make a great staple in this world. And the saying is the youth is our future. They are our future. So if they're dying out before they're able to do anything to help change the world or be who they are, we're in big trouble. As a nation, we are in big trouble, and we cannot allow this to continue to happen. All right, we need to make sure that we're setting comfortable spaces for and foundations for our children to grow to be their best selves, so they can grow healthy social, emotional skills and other essential life skills that goes right along with it. All right. So again, be on the lookout for more talk in regards to school torment. You can pick this book up on Amazon.com or my publishing company, AuthorHouse.com. There's the Kindle version for $3.99, and there's the paperback version for $10.99. So I made sure it was very economical for you guys, because I thought about me also in the process. Get as many as you want. Make this something that is a household discussion. Make this something that is a school discussion, a community discussion. And if you would like for me to come out and help in this matter, just hit me up. I'm going to have my information in the subject line. All right, I'm going to give my phone number and email. Just feel free to contact me and let's get some things going. But we need to start handling this very sensitive topic in a more compassionate and more understanding way. All right. But this segment, we're going to talk about Monique and Steve Harvey. We're also going to talk about Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. All right. Or we might just do Monique and Steve Harvey today. Let's just see how things go. Okay. So I'm not sure if any of you watched their interview. All right. I'm going to say that I'm happy. I'm glad Steve Harvey took the opportunity or seized the moment to finally have this discussion so that Monique's side can be heard. Okay. I wouldn't go as far as to call Steve Harvey a coon. Okay. I won't go as far as doing that. However, there are some things that he said which were questionable. Okay. And it could very well be the way that he said it, and he didn't cover all bases as far as what he actually meant. So he may not have meant what he actually meant by what he said. There could be more to it, or he could have meant that. So for me, in order for me to accuse him of being a coon or a sellout, I would have to ask Steve some questions. I would have to bring him back to some of the things that he said and ask him to elaborate or expound more on what he meant by what he said. Too often we have to understand when it comes to communications, and that's going to be that's going to be a topic as well. When it comes to communication, do understand that a lot of us weren't taught how to communicate properly. We weren't taught how to expound on certain things. You understand? So there are things that come to our mind or things that we already want to say. And if we say it exactly the way it came to our mind or exactly the way we thought of it, it leaves room for a different interpretation outside of what we actually meant. All right. So you know what you mean when you say something. However, the way it's said, because it wasn't elaborated upon, leaves room for interpretation for the person who don't think like you. So too often we have to remember, people don't. I think like I think doesn't mean that you're going to think like I think. So how I say something is stemming from my perception, my ideology, my philosophy, and I say it as such. Doesn't mean that you're going to receive it exactly how I thought it to be. So those are the things that we're going to have to start, thinking about if we want to have better, I don't want to say better, yeah, let me say it, better conversations, more and more understanding, better understanding in our discussions. All right. But that is definitely going to be something that we'll talk about, like as I said, later on down the line. However, what there are some things that I question when it comes to Monique's issue or any issue of that type of caliber. I always question, why is it that the conversation or the discussion is only about what's the events that are taking place now? Okay, so here's what I mean by that. Everyone is focusing on when Monique started to complain about Netflix. They go a little as far back when she started talking about the role for Empire and how she should have been playing the role of Cookie or something like that, of that effect. And from then, people have made their assumptions of Monique, and all of a sudden it's like the masses are tired of Monique. They don't want to hear anything of Monique. They feel like, who does Monique think she is? And being that she's calling out people such as Lee Daniels, Oprah, and Tyler Perry, who are heavy hitters in the game, people are automatically assuming that Monique is wrong. And this is a major issue in the world. Too often people equate your success and power, because you have great and good success and power, they automatically think that you have great intention, great integrity, great character. It doesn't go hand in hand. Great success and great power doesn't always go hand in hand with great integrity, great principle, great character. What goes hand with it, though, is great work ethic, because you have to be able to have a certain level of work ethic or a certain level of way of getting along with people, a certain way of making people feel a certain way, which is typically good, in order to be in certain positions where you're able to continue to climb and master having that level of success. But it doesn't mean that you're compassionate. It doesn't mean that you have integrity, and it doesn't mean you have principle, good. Let me not say so much a good moral code, because our moral codes are respective to us and our ideologies. All right. This is why I mentioned principle and integrity. Principles are not measured upon my personal ideology. All right. When you think about principle, you take your personal ideology out of it, and you look at the principle, the actual thing, and what is said to be right and wrong, or what is said to be oppressive, subtractive, inclusive, loving, what is said to be hate, envy, fear, versus what is said to be love, inclusion, kindness. All right? Those are all principles that have nothing to do with my ideology, your ideology. Here's why. Because whatever energy is into play, there's going to be a certain level of energy that is connected to that. There's going to be effects that is directly connected to that energy. and you have to look at the effects that is connected or that are a result of that energy. And that right there is the principle for how we call a thing a thing. Okay? So here's the thing. We're focusing on the point when we started to hear from Monique. And the world is tired of Monique. And what I find very frustrating as an onlooker, and I can only imagine how Monique feels, is that people didn't stop to do their research or stop to question as to why Monique is speaking out in the way that she's speaking out. One thing I say is that when there's certain people involved, well, for me, it's and everybody. I question everything. However, when there's certain people involved, those heavy hitters, Oprah, Tyler, Lee Daniels, when people are accusing them of something, something should have triggered in the masses to say, why are they being called out on certain things? You know, let me look into it. I wouldn't think that Oprah or Tyler would be getting called out on certain things. Lee Daniels, at that point, we didn't really know his character, you know, or who much of Lee Daniels, but we know so much about Oprah and Tyler. So when things are being thrown out there, it should lead you to question why. But what I saw that the masses did was that the masses shut down, and they're like, that's Oprah, that's Tyler. They automatically assumed that Monique was in the wrong. This here is where the problem lies. Because what the masses don't realize is that there are people who are in great positions of power and success that knows that the masses think like that, but they don't have integrity, and they get away with doing oppressive things to other individuals because they know that the masses will not question them. Because the masses automatically equate great success and great power to good character, or to the fact that you can't do anything wrong. Just because it seems that you haven't done anything wrong and it seems that you're climbing and you're getting success smoothly, we don't know how you're getting it. All right. So that I went and did my research, and there was an interview in which Monique explained what the issue is, and this is stemming before Netflix. In that interview, Monique says Lee Daniels reached out to her and asked her to do him a favor. That he would pay her, what was it, $50,000 or $55,000 to play the role of Precious. That was a part of the contract. If she did him that favor, because he has new roles coming up, he would make sure that she had roles in the future. Monique did him that solid. They signed the contract. If you guys saw the movie Precious, and I think that movie came out, about 15 years ago? Monique played the hell out of that role for $55K. She played the hell out of that role. Granted, that's done. Here's where the problem started. He called her unexpectedly and asked her to fly overseas to promote the movie Precious. Promotion was not a part of the contract. He paid her $55K just to star in the movie. He did not discuss promoting the movie, and payment for her to promote the movie was not included in that contract. 1. Therefore, she made no plans on how she was going to set up her life in order to go and do these things to promote the movie. Those are things that you have to do in advance. Make sure your family know what's going on, and have people in place to take care of the children. You know, it's like he forgot she was married and had her sons. And she had no plans to promote that movie because it wasn't a part of the contract. And apparently he didn't ask her to do that during the time of discussing this contract. Her husband said no. Monique backs her husband, and she gave her reasons why. And that is the reason why Monique got blackballed. because she didn't go and promote the movie. I will give Lee this. Let's say he forgot to discuss promoting the movie and forgot to add costs for that in the contract. And now it's the movie's done and you realize it's like, oh yeah, we got to promote the movie X, Y, and Z. Let me call her up and say, Monique, I need you to start going out to promote the movie, and I'm going to pay for your hotel costs, your plane tickets, the things that you need. If you need babysitter at that time, let's get, a babysitter, or if you need a nanny to fly with you to be with the kids, let's arrange that so we can get you out there to promote the movie. None of those things were discussed. Here's why I know that. One, Monique never said it that was discussed. Two, if that was offered to her, I don't see how she would turn down that offer. Because if you're offering to accommodate her for her inconvenience, then there's no reason for her to say no. If you're offering to say, let's get a nanny to fly with you so you don't have to worry about getting somebody to watch children, that means that you get somebody and that person is going to fly with you and your husband, because now her husband is her manager. So wherever Monique is going, her husband is going, right? So who are going to watch her sons? Lee didn't take that into account or into a consideration. And I believe he allowed his ego to get the best of him. Like, how dare she tell me no? She needs to go and promote the movie. The other thing is they had a $10 million budget to make that movie. Precious made $63.3 or $0.6 million. So he made a $50 million profit. That movie did well. What's the problem? Okay, stop there. So now this problem has happened way back then. She's been blackballed from that whole thing way back then, right? Now we have fast forward 15 years after the fact. Monique has been quiet. No one knew she was blackballed. Pay attention to when you started to hear Monique make noise. It was during the Power when Taraji Henson was starring Cookie in Power, and it wasn't until Power got into play and Power was this big thing that we started to hear Monique say, oh, I should have been that role. And I get it. She was a bit wrong for saying that she should have played, that role was for her. But what she really meant was that Lee promised her roles. It was like she automatically had roles in his new projects, provided that she did him that solid by starring in Precious, which she did. She did exactly what they agreed to in the contract. And because she didn't go out and promote the movie because you didn't pay her for that, you blackballed her, and then you X'd her out of all of your upcoming roles, the movies or films or series, anything that you're doing. You crossed her off of the list for having a job with anything that you do. Plus you're having her blackballed behind the scenes. Okay. So now this happened how many years ago? Okay. She and her husband said nothing about it, so the world didn't know anything about it, like I said, until Empire. Meanwhile, Lee Daniels did The Butler, and I think he did a couple of other things before The Butler, which Monique wasn't a part of. But she was quiet. She didn't say anything. Because you know what? That goes along with the process. She understood that he blackballed her, and she understood why. But from a rational perspective, you think, all right, things will blow over. So he's upset now. I didn't go and promote the movie. I didn't fly out, spend my money on plane tickets to fly out, which I'm not going to be compensated for. All right, things will blow over. Here's where the problem lies. She goes to have this deal with Netflix. Netflix doesn't care about Lee Daniels like that. They would have done the contract with Monique. The problem is that Netflix knows that Monique is still blackballed. So they're capitalizing off of the fact that she's blackballed, and they made a choice to lowball her with pay, because in their mind she's being blackballed and it's hard for her to get jobs and gigs within the entertainment industry. So what they thought was that she was going to be so pressed to start working within the industry that she would take that money. That was wrong. You knowing what Monique's worth is, pay Monique what her worth is. And there lies the problem when it comes comes to integrity, right? Some people will say that that's a business move, and integrity has nothing to do with it. Hold on, guys. Hello? Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Bye. Okay, guys. Bear with me. I'm going to open the door for someone real quick. Bear with me. I'll tell you about it later. Okay. Okay. So, what was I saying? Right. They chose to lowball her with pay. Due to the fact that she was blackballed. Okay. So that's when we started hearing her say, no, we need people to boycott Netflix and, uh, I'm sorry, guys, made it the issue about inequality, right? Not so much of talking about what Dave Chappelle got paid via Netflix, but that's where the Amy Schumer was referenced, right? Because how much did Amy Schumer get paid with, hold on, let's look up how much Amy Schumer got paid. Sorry, I'm a little out of breath, but I ran up some couple of flight of stairs. That's how fast I was moving, because I didn't want to leave you guys holding for so long. Um, let's see if they're going to show it. Okay. Okay. So, right, Netflix initially paid Amy Schumer 11 million. What they're saying is, which we already know, she raised questions about that, and she got a couple of million more. Maybe it was 15 million. Meanwhile, Dave Chappelle and them got 20. All right. So Monique doesn't want to get paid what Dave Chappelle and some of the other men got paid. But what she looked at was the fact that they offered Amy Schumer $11 million. And then when she questioned it, they gave her what they paid her, about maybe 15 million. Meanwhile, they lowballed Monique from the gate with only 500,000. So although Monique and her husband questioned it and they pushed back, the number that they came back with, which I don't remember, was still lower than what Amy Schumer got paid. So what she's saying is that she's a great, she's a woman, She's been in the game longer than Amy Schumer, I believe. Amy Schumer is a woman, so why not pay me the same dollar that you paid Amy Schumer? And that's where we're going back to the fact that it's because she was blackballed, and Netflix is capitalizing off of the fact that she's blackballed, and they're making this a business move by saying, well, let's get somebody who is the great. Monique is one of the greats. Out of all of the comedians that Monique came up with, the female comedians that she came up with, you do know that Monique is worth more than all of them. Her net worth is about $13 million, I believe. Meanwhile, the other female comedians that she came in the game with, their net worths are about 1 million, 2 million. None of them are even 8 million. They're all below 8 million, their net worth. And Monique is, her net worth is the highest. So I say this to say that Monique continues to work. And I don't know if she has any investments that contributes to her net worth, but she's worked more than a lot of these other female comedians. Meanwhile, Netflix is choosing to take an act like Monique and lowball her due to the circumstances that she's in from the blackball. Now here's where lies where integrity and business move lies. The lack of integrity is the fact that they're profiting off of the fact that she's blackballed. So now we're going to add in and participate in the blackball, but to our advantage. So they would like her to be a part of their platform, but they will not pay her the dollar amount that she is worth. And this is why we're hearing her starting to raise hell, because it's to the point where how long is it that this blackball is going to be in effect? All right, it's over 15 years now. And you mean to tell me that Lee Daniels at some point couldn't sit back and think, okay, you know what? Maybe I handled things a little bit wrong. Maybe Monique's way of dealing with it was a little bit wrong. You know, she stood by her husband and stood by her no. Maybe she could have said it a better way or presented another option. Who knows if another option was presented, because Lee Daniels doesn't have to come up with the solution. You know, if I was in that situation, I probably would have said something like, well, you didn't pay me for that. That wasn't a part of the contract. However, if this is something that you want me to do, and it's what you think it will make a great big of a deal for the movie, why don't you pay for the plane tickets? Let's see how everything is going to cost, and I'll give you a price, and you pay for it, and then I'll go ahead and do that. You know, there's a lot that goes on with promoting a movie. You also have to get wardrobe and all of that. And those are the things that Lee didn't think about. So with all of that, you thought that it was okay to put that level of pressure on Monique at the last minute to go and promote a movie that she didn't plan to do. And who was she going to call at the last minute, you know, to get a dress or to get outfits that she really would want to wear for the time? Because a lot of these things take time. If you want the best, you have to put in your bid and your request for something that you're going to do 5 months from now. You need to start working on it now, so you can make sure that you have the best. You understand? Even if you have to get something made, he has to remember Monique is overweight, you know, so does she get her outfits made, or you know, whoever who does her wardrobe, are they getting things together for specifically for her and her body type? All of those things are into play. And he took none of that into account when he asked her to go and promote a movie that none of them planned for her to do, and not offer her any resources to cover all of the expenses. A big problem. Okay, so now here lies why she's talking about Oprah and Tyler Perry, right? They were in on the conversation. They agreed that Monique was right. She didn't do anything wrong. The problem with them was they didn't step up on her behalf and say, you know what, maybe this is going a little bit too far. What they did was they sat back and they watched Lee begin to assassinate her character and make deals to have her blackballed behind her back. They knew what was happening and they said absolutely nothing. That's the reason for her calling them out. Lee cannot blackball Tyler Perry or Oprah. They're too powerful for that. Both of them are producers. Both of them are talent. What I mean by that is both of them produce work and they both act in work. So there's so Lee Daniels has no position to do anything to hurt their position, which means that they could have stepped up and created the synergy of balance for that situation with Monique. That's where the problem lies, and that's why she's calling them out. The other thing is having that discussion on The View and Whoopi Goldberg siding with them. I love Whoopi Goldberg, but I didn't like the fact that Whoopi, as an elder in the entertainment business, chose to side with Lee Daniels and tell Monique, well, if you would have called me up, I would have told you how it's done. No, Monique has been in the business for 30 years. She doesn't need Whoopi to tell her how it's done. What she needed was Whoopi as one of the elders in the black community in the entertainment business to say, hey, you know what, guys? I think we need to call a meeting and let's put all the cards on the table and have a discussion about what is actually going on, and let's see how we can make amends between Monique and Lee Daniels. That wasn't done. So this brings me to this with the black community. Too often we are in positions, but we don't have power. And it's like either we look at ourselves as powerless or not being able to gain that level of power, or we don't care about it, or we don't even think about it. But you have to think, when you're in the game for that long, there are going to be little squabbles between certain individuals in the community. That's just life. That's how things go. People have misunderstandings. Now, with your experience and your age, where do you place yourself in this world on how you make amends between people in your community? That's like a grandmother or elders in your community should be positioning themselves to always be a person that a younger person can come and get advice from. And advice that's going to help them make better decisions in their life, and advice that's going to help make them feel better about themselves. Elders are also supposed to be the ones to put their foot down to say when enough is enough. I think this is going on too far, and let's see how we can do things to make sure that all parties are feeling respected, appreciated, and loved, included. At least that's how I look at it, and I'm only 42 years old. But I look at it that I would be wasting my life and my time living if I also don't make sure I position myself where I can turn around and extend my hand and reach back for somebody younger, or reach back for somebody who doesn't know as much, who need the information. I'm always positioning myself to be able to empower people with information so that they can feel better about themselves, feel better about life, and make better decisions. I didn't like the fact that Whoopi Goldberg didn't seize that opportunity. Tyler didn't seize that opportunity. Oprah didn't seize that opportunity. I love Oprah, and I believe I relate to Oprah more than, no, I was going to say I relate to her more than Monique. I just found out of later on in life that, I actually, sometime last year, I found out that Monique was molested by a family member. All right, I was molested. We know Oprah was molested. Oprah was, riddled with this thing of feeling ugly and those sort of things. So I connect, like Oprah is like my spirit sister or my spirit mother. So like when I was younger and she started talking about sexual abuse and, the abusers living in the household, those sort of things, it was like she was my hero because no one was talking about things like that. And I was actually going through it during those times. So I'm like, oh my God, somebody's talking about it. Things are going to change. So I say this to say that I am not biased in my talkings about Oprah. You see how that works? I have more of a connection to Oprah than I had with Monique. but I still know that Oprah is wrong for not stepping up and making amends between Lee Daniels and Monique, and to sit back and watch someone assassinate someone else's character by lying and not stepping up to say, okay, enough is enough. He's interfering with the way she makes money, with the way her family eat, with her how she's comfortable with maneuvering in the entertainment business. That is not right. Now the problem I have with that is Oprah added her personal ideologies in that, because Oprah doesn't have a personality like Monique. Oprah's personality is just do things a little bit more calm and subtle and not make big noises about things. And I believe personally she doesn't like Monique's way of handling things. So in that, she chose to sit back and let that happen, and that's wrong. That's where our personal ideologies and our personal moral code starts to blur the lines when it comes to principle and integrity. Too often we looking at things from a personal perspective. Well, I wouldn't have done it that way, and I don't think she should have done it that way, so maybe it's good for her. No, because you know why? We all have different personalities. That's how God created us. So who's to say that the way I handle things or the way I handle life overall is wrong just because you don't handle life that way? Okay, so to me, Oprah's wrong and Tyler Perry is wrong. However, I'm liking the discussion that Steve Harvey is having. Although I didn't agree with everything that Steve Harvey said, and I agree with him talking about there's a better ways to doing things, but again, he's speaking for how Monique is handling the situation now, because she's loud and now, and she's disrespectful towards them about the situation now. And that's making her out to be the angry black woman who has no rationale. But meanwhile, they completely dismiss that she's been dealing with this for over 10 years. So now she's to the point where she has had enough. No more being nice. I don't want to play nice anymore, because when I did that, it seems like you still don't respect me. And it seems like they thought that they were going to do that until Monique was etched out of the entertainment business. No one is God. Too many individuals are allowing their ego to get to their head. They're playing God about someone else's life. You're making decisions about someone else's life. You're thinking it's okay to determine that someone else doesn't need to succeed, especially a person who hasn't done anything sacrilegious. What I mean by anything sacrilegious, Monique is not a child abuser. She's not a sexual abuser. She's not a rapist. She's not a murderer. When you start talking about things like that really oppress and hurt people, or doing things that alters someone else's good quality of life, then it's okay to have that perspective about them. Then it's okay to maybe say, I don't think this person needs to be working anymore. You know, they need to be out of the entertainment business, or they don't need to be connected to my connections anymore. It's okay to think like that. But what she did, which is what he considered to be the crime, that crime is not warranted for the punishment that's going on, and it's ongoing punishment. So what it also means is that Lee doesn't even have the ability to self-assess. Because when you self-assess and you look back on things, you say to yourself, well, yeah, you know, we all can do it. But when you self-assess, you look back and you say, yeah, I could have handled that a little bit differently. I think, yeah, I didn't realize the way I approached the situation, how there were some things that I didn't take into account, which is why she had every reason to say no. I didn't even think about that. But what happened is, what's going on is actually showing that he didn't self-assess. Either two things: he didn't self-assess, one, or two, he self-assessed, but he thinks that he didn't do anything wrong. Right? He doesn't think that he's wrong because it's his intentions to completely take advantage of her and just pay her the $50,000 to $55,000 for the role, and tell her it was only for the role, and then get her to still use some of that money to go and buy plane tickets and travel, because who knows how many cities or how many different places they're going to when they promote a movie. They don't just stay one place. So you want her to take money out of that 55K and go, buy tickets and go here, there, and the third, pay for wardrobe, pay for hotel stay, pay for dinner, and not just ticket for her husband because he's a manager. So if she would have done that, her pay for that role would actually turn out to be 25K, 20K. Meanwhile, the movie was a $10 million budget for the movie, and it made $63.3 million. Now, here's also where what I have a problem with. This is also an issue within the black community. We can't continue to blame everything on the white man. Lee Daniels is a black man. Tyler is a black man. Oprah Winfrey is a black woman. Monique is a black woman. This is clearly a squabble between heavy hitters that are in the entertainment business who are all black. And the oppression is happening from a black person. The other thing I have a problem with, what I see, is that Lee Daniels is also a gay black man. His ego and his inability to pull back from the situation is actually sending a direct message to Monique's husband in saying that I, as a gay black man, have more power over you and have more power over the fact of how you and your family is going to eat and take care of yourself. Because we know that there's a message that's out here that the black man is not powerful. And things are designed for the black man to appear and seem as if the black man is not powerful. Excuse me. But here you have it, a gay black man who's also contributing to that message in saying that a straight black man is not powerful. A straight black man is not powerful, and you have no power or control over how your family survives. I have the power and control over that. That's ego, and it's completely wrong. I don't care who it is. It's wrong. Now, here's the other thing I want to talk about. The gay community. I have nothing against the gay community. My book, you see this? That means that I took you guys into account. I took the gay community into account because bullying people, mistreating people, oppressing people, regardless of what their race, nationality, or sexual preference is wrong. However, the gay community is holding grudges against the heterosexual community. And I understand why. Because the heterosexual community bullied you guys, beat you guys, oppressed you guys. You know, a lot of gay kids are homeless. They're getting kicked out of home. You know, they're homeless with college, when they're in college. You know, so the list with that goes on and on, which I know a lot of you understand. So the problem is that some of you are deliberately looking to be in positions of power so that you can make other people feel powerless or insignificant or inferior. And that's a little what's going on here. I don't care what no one says. Even Lee, you yourself can't come back and tell me that that's wrong. You know why? Because this issue with Monique, that you're allowing her to continue to be blackballed for over 15 years now, it's uncalled for. It's uncalled for. So now we have to start looking at, why is this going on still for so long for something so small? And I can see if the movie didn't do good, but the movie did great. Monique played the hell out of that role. She didn't go in there, waltz in there, half acting. Monique played the hell out of that role as if you paid her $10 million for the role. You know, her acting in Precious is not 55K act. However, this all goes to say that when you have great work ethic It doesn't matter how much somebody pay you or what position you're in. It's going to reflect itself. You can be doing something for free, and the job that you do for free is going to be at the same quality as the job that you do that you got paid for doing for 6 figures or 4 million or for 5 million. So her acting that role in the way that she act that role shows a lot about her character, and it shows a lot about her work ethic. It also shows a lot that she stood by you. She did you that solid as a friend, and she also showed you that as a friend you paid her only 55K, and I'm gonna work the hell out of that role. Make sure this role does well. Make sure we soar with this role. That's what she did. She took Precious on her back and she made sure that movie flew. And it's like you shit on her. You throw everything in her face and you don't even take into account of the type of work she put forth for that movie. For the reason why you made $63.3 million off of that goddamn movie when you had a $10 million budget. You got to pay Monique some respect. She had integrity with what she did for you, and you didn't have the integrity. And that's the problem I have with this issue. However, I'm going to close out with this. I still appreciate the fact that Steve Harvey, although some of what he said is a little bit etchy and sketchy, because he still didn't have to have this conversation. He still didn't have to initiate bringing all of these guys to the table and having a discussion to squash the beef. And that's what I appreciate Steve Harvey for doing. Having that discussion, they cannot ignore it or deny it because it's national, it's worldwide. Now it's time to have the discussion and let bygones be bygones, and let cooler heads prevail. All right, so I'm gonna leave you guys with that, and peace until next time.